Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary, where I do the research to try to teach you a little something about what you're drinking. Tonight I'm going to be talking to you about an Islay single malt Scotch whiskey called Ardbeg 10. So let's get into it. If this is your first time with the channel and you enjoy whiskey reviews, informational videos, or just general whiskey knowledge, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss anything. So in order to talk about the Ardbeg Distillery, first we need to take a trip over to the Isle of Islay. So in the early 1700s, like most distilleries in Scotland, Ardbeg was making a ton of Scotch, and all of it was being used for blends. So over a couple hundred years, they kept this up, although they did fall upon some hard times, especially in the 80s. They ended up closing the doors twice, and they were rebought. But it seems on the third time that they were rebought in 1997, everything kind of worked out better. It seems like it was the lucky time, because in 1998, they won Whiskey of the Year. And in fact, they would go on to win it 3 more times between 97 and today. So other than that, I was a little bit worried that this was going to end up kind of a boring distillery history, just like Oban. You know, a really good dram, but not very interesting. Until I ran across some information that in 2011, it turns out that Ardbeg was actually the first whiskey aged in space. So I guess on the International Space Station, they took 20 vials up there, and they were filled with liquid and little pieces of oak. And they kept a control group down here on Earth, and they brought the other ones up to the International Space Station to age for 2.5 years. Well, when they finally brought them down, they noticed 2 dramatic differences. Both the color and the nose were apparently much, much different. So I'm not going to remember exactly what the nosing and tasting notes that they used to describe these are, so I'm just going to read them here, so forgive me if I'm looking over here. So for the earth sample, the sample had a woody aroma reminiscent of an aged Ardbeg style with hints of cedar, sweet smoke, and aged balsamic vinegar, as well as raisins, treacle coffee, vanilla, and burnt oranges. On the palate, its woody balsamic flavors shone through, although with a distant fruitiness, some charcoal and antiseptic notes, leading to a long lingering aftertaste with flavors of gentle smoke, tar, and creamy fudge. Now, that sounds pretty good. Certainly a little bit more eloquent than I typically give my notes. Now, as far as the space sample, and I'm absolutely going to find some pictures or some video here to show for you guys, this is the description they used. Its intense aroma had hints of antiseptic smoke, rubber, and smoked fish, along with a curious perfumed note like violet or cassis, and powerful woody tones, leading to a meaty aroma, considerably different. It says its taste was very focused with smoked fruits such as prunes, raisins, sugared plums, and cherries. Earthy peat smoke, peppermint, aniseed, cinnamon, and smoked bacon or hickory smoked ham. The aftertaste is intense and long, with hints of wood, antiseptic, lozenges, and rubbery smoke. I gotta say, the space sample's flavor sounds really good, actually. Pretty sure they said bacon, so let's get into this whiskey and see what we can take out of it. Ardbeg consists of several different mainline expressions, all of which are considered Islay single malt scotches, which basically means that they need to be distilled and aged on Islay and follow all of the normal rules of a single malt scotch. Now, the mainline expressions include such things as Anoa, Ugadal, Corryvreckan, and the Ardbeg 10. There's almost always new ones coming out. They're very similar to Highland Park in that they always seem to have some special. You know, the Kelpie comes to mind and several others. But the 4 I mentioned are their mainline. So let's talk about the Ardbeg 10 here. Now, it was released in 2000, and it's been doing really well ever since. It's pretty much their flagship. And it's part of the reason I did this one first and actually picked it for my beginner Scotch guide that you may have seen or maybe even have seen prior to this video. So this one right here is easy to find in a bar, which kind of gives it a lot of credence in my mind as far as being what I would consider like an intro to Scotch. Now, it's not simple. It's certainly not like having, like a spay burn. It's just in my mind, it's a good way to introduce yourself to what a Scotch can be. I don't remember if I actually put it on the list, but I had considered doing a Lagavulin as well, just to really let you know, like, this is out here, this is crazy, but this is still an intro to that area of Scotch. So anyway, the Ardbeg 10 is a really solid dram. And to that end, let's get into the nosing and the tasting. The Ardbeg 10 is bottled at 92 proof, and love that sound. 92 proof, it is non-chill filtered, and aged, obviously, 10 years. So let's go ahead and give this a nose. So that is a beautiful nose. So the notes that I'm getting here is right off the bat, there's smoke, but it's a well-balanced smoke. It doesn't hit you in the nose like something like a Laphroaig. It's smoky, but it's delicate. You get some sea air in there, almost like if you were to pour salt water onto a fire to extinguish it. That kind of combination, if you want to picture that in your head. There's a little bit more I get in there too, kind of like an earthiness, almost like fresh sod. I did see some people that said that they smell tar. Now, I personally don't have much experience with that. I was never a smoker, so I can't really speak to experience there, but it's worth knowing that some people get tar. All right, let's go ahead and give this a taste. Cheers. All right, so it's very salt water forward, but it's followed immediately by a bit of smoke. Kind of finished off with like a dry, airy earthiness, almost like dirt floating in the air on like a dusty road. This is a beautifully balanced whiskey. Honestly, this is one of my favorite Islas that I think I've ever had. Put it this way, the other night I was doing a live stream with Malted in Montreal. If you aren't familiar with him, you should check out his channel. I'll put a link to it in the description. But him and I were doing a live stream, and I told him that Laphroaig is good. It's almost a challenge. Honestly, it's a little gimmicky in how peaty they are. This is what I would consider peat done right. It's very, very balanced to the point when you're drinking it, you say, wow, that's really smoky, but it doesn't just like punch you in the throat, you know what I mean? Honestly, it's a very, very well balanced dram, and I'm extremely excited to try some of their other main lines. I've tried the Anoa before, and I've tried the Kelpie, but there's a lot of Ardbegs out there, and I really can't wait to have them all. So this gets a very solid buy it from me, potential for stock it if it's up your alley. So that will do it for this episode of the Whiskey Dictionary. So thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.